that time where we equally get into politics, Nigerian political system, where we get to know one or two things happening in the political sphere in Nigeria. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, still in the month of April. I beg your pardon. Yes, in the month of July 2023. Yes, a lot of things in Nigeria is making us skip because the fuel price and everything. If you reason and finish, well a day. But yes, that being said, of course, we are really going to be diving into one or two things, especially as it concerns the National Assembly in Nigeria. We have the 10th National Assembly that has just started. The plenaries, of course, having a lot of things happening back and forth in that particular sphere. The red chambers and of course the green chambers. The red chambers is otherwise known as the Nigerian Senate, the upper chamber, and of course the green chamber, which has the House of Representatives with about 360 members in the House of Representatives, as the Senate has 109 members in that particular senatorial district, of course, senatorial sphere. Of course, moving forward, we have a lot of things to really look at. The National Assembly is one of the institutions in Nigeria that consumes large portion of the national budget yearly, every year, because it has a bloated number of aids that come with high cost of public sector expenditures as it stands. Now, the National Assembly has equally impacted, and on most occasions, some persons say they haven't impacted, especially when it has to do with their constituency or their senatorial district. And now we have, for the first time from the Niger Delta region, the first Senate president, that is Senator Goswell Akpabio. Yes, of course, who is on that particular highest order in the 10th Senate in this particular 4th Republic in Nigeria. Moving forward, we have a lot of things that we are really going to be looking into as it concerns these 500 billion naira loan that the federal government is equally trying to take, as gearing it towards helping Nigerians in terms of palliatives and other things put together. The National Assembly, still moving forward, is asking for 70 billion out of that particular one, just to be able to maintain their furnitures in the National Assembly. Is that not ridiculous? Of course, we are definitely going to be looking at that this beautiful morning. And yes, my name is C.I. Zoro. I wouldn't be doing this alone because I've got the gentleman with me, Uche Anibu, and of course Raymond Okolo.
Good morning, C.I. Zoro. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, good morning to you, Raymond Okolo.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. I think I understand the reason why you have to take us back to April, because some people right about now are saying that with everything that we are seeing right now in the country,
that we miss
the father figure.
And he said we will miss him.
He was like a father to us. And so it's only clear that seriously right about that is just missing him. But either way, we have a lot of things now that we have to talk about, and we have to find solutions to. I don't think that every Nigerian is happy with the price of fuel going up and everything. I think it is high time that we come up with a solution. And I think the administration, this current administration, in as much as you might want to look at certain things that they have done and give them kudos and say yes, they've done well in certain aspects in a short period of time. But I believe when it comes to how Nigerians are faring at this moment, I will say that Nigerians are not happy totally with what is going on in the country, and there is a need for them to get to address that issue right now before it gets out of hand.
Let's really start from the National Assembly, just like I said. Having the Senate, where we have 109 members in the red chambers, and of course in the House of Representatives, where we have 360 as to 109 members in the Senate. Of course, that is not the problem. The problem is these particular persons, especially those with particular portfolios ranging from the Senate President to the Deputy Senate President to the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and the principal officers. Each of them have aides. Now, it is enough that they are asking for a certain amount of money to help in furnitures and a lot of other things in terms of their offices. But let's not go to that. Let's go to their aides first. The Senate President has about officially 45 aides to his portfolio. The Deputy Senate President has about 30 aides to his portfolio. The Speaker House of Representatives has 33 aides to his portfolio. Deputy Speaker has 15. The principal officers has 10 aides each to their portfolios. Okay, now looking at these things, do you think at this particular point, especially with the way the country has been going, financially and otherwise, do you think there is need for all these particular aides, starting from the Senate President down to the other principal officers in the Senate and of course the House of Representatives, considering where we are at this particular point in time? Because Nigeria for the past few years has been on borrowing, a lot of borrowing here and there, going in back and forth. Do you think that we need all these particular ones? Because these persons that I'm talking about are under this public sector expenditure, which is eating off every other budget we have any other day.
The country, Nigeria, is in a deep problem. We are not having money to finance most of our projects. We saw in the last administration, monies have been borrowed from China for national railway projects. For example, Southeast was excluded. We had members in the National Assembly who never spoke against us, who never resisted such exclusion. When you come to the terms, you listed out the number of aides. Yes. Senate President 45, the
Deputy 30, yeah. Speaker 33, Deputy Speaker 15.
One problem we're having in this country is bureaucratic challenges. For example, it's not out of place for a Senate President to have like a minimum of 10 aides.
Exactly.
But something above that 10 aides is an abnormal, it's an absurdity. For example, each senator going to the National Assembly is entitled to three
different
aides. You have a barrister there, yes. Then you ask yourself, what impact are those 45 persons doing in the office of the Senate President and 30 persons in the office of the Deputy Senate President? These are money that is ought to be channeled to proper places that benefit Nigerians. Coming to the issue of renovating the National Assembly, we saw in the past that this same National Assembly was renovated. We saw a video online. It was also shown on national TV. It was raining. The roof was leaking profusely. They were putting, the staffs of National Assembly were putting buckets. So we were using mops to clean the floor. So you see, you also ask a question. Using 700 billion or such amounts to renovate National Assembly, what is the economic impact of that project to Nigerians? The National Assembly, the current National Assembly complex, in total, the House of Reps and the Senate, how much was used to build such edifice? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. For example, when you want to build your house, you call people that, do the evaluation. These are things not ordinarily we shouldn't be talking about in this 21st century. Somebody will sit down and tell us, yes, you have to have comfort in your office, but there are things that shouldn't be discussed, like having bulletproof cars. Why should you be using bulletproof car in a country that most people can't feed 2 times in a day or a day? Don't even know where the next meal is coming from. If you have an economy that is working, we have steady power supply, you have students graduating and getting work, the economy is moving, you don't have to see youths getting restive, picking up arms or kidnapping people. You shouldn't be moving around in security cars like that, is bulletproof or bomb-proof or any what you call it, or even automobile-proof. Sometimes we get to ridicule ourselves. The money that you use, for example, I saw on the social media one celebrity that just but let me just call the name for Authorities. The car is 350 million. Just imagine, for example, each senator has such kind of money given to him for or used to provide such. It's a bulletproof car. These are money that should go into your constituency, should go into critical, like,
because most of their constituencies lack major things.
Just for example, in Anambra North here, there are schools without good fencing. They don't have good teachers. They don't have what do you call good classroom block. Just outside Anambra, in Benue State, we saw students learning under the tree. If it's raining, if the sun is shining, these are things ordinary government should take care of. How much should we take to construct maybe a 12 room class block? In like say maybe each constituency you have like 4 or 5 local governments. You do it in a year like 3 or 4. The next day you do it. These are money that will be used religiously. When you go to like general hospitals, like some hospitals, you provide hospital equipments that the medical services patients are getting there. We used to attend it to them, but here we don't see such kind of things. Our roads in dilapidated states. For example, this State Road is a federal road. Over the years, we have senators who can't speak up against the federal government not doing this road, dualizing it from here to wherever it stops at Enugu State. And aside like Lekki Expressway, this State Road is the busiest in the country. Whenever it's 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, that road is jam-packed. You have millions of people plying that road in a day, in a week. But you find that some of our National Assembly members who went in the past, who went in the euphoria of, let me not call names, in the last election, you know how the election, vote this, and you tend to go to the National Assembly with somebody's name. And when you go there, you see some of them sleeping, they don't do anything. So, for me, our senators should start doing the needful. Enough of this ego massaging of themselves. When they come to function, they carry all these big rights, carry bodyguards and the security. These are nonsense, because the people that voted for you ought to be accessible to you. You don't have water when they need it. You don't have good roads. You don't have good protection, security. Do their children have good schools where they can attend to? You don't have good hospitals. So let me stop for now.
And now a lot of things, just like I said, has equally been making a lot of persons ask. First of all, the president is yet to make his ministerial nomination public, although some of the aides are saying it is there already. But back to what we're talking about, because we're here to hear from Raymond Okolo, of course, his view on this particular aides attached to every portfolio in the National Assembly, talking about those that have principal offices in that particular assembly, having the senator, senate president with 45 aides, a deputy with 30 aides, about the speaker with 33 aides, and the deputy speaker with 15 aides. Of course, is that not outrageous, considering what we are going through as a nation right now? It is something that is something I would call uncalled for, because this is a part of the public sector expenditure anytime, any day. What do you think about this, Mr. Okolo?
You cannot, in the right frame of mind, decide that you as a person have up to 40, 35 aides. What are they doing? This is just you, getting to duplicate some functions, and then using that as another means to still get money. Because I don't think that it is possible for those 50 aides to be. What exactly are they doing? What exactly do they bring to the table that is different? Now, just like he mentioned, the money used to service these people now should be used for something that would bring value to the nation. We keep on borrowing, and that's because we are overpaying. We are paying people who are just there, not really doing anything, and then we have major causes, major issues are going on around the country that should be dealt with that money, but it's not being channeled towards that direction. You made mention of some schools and not having blocks and all that. I think that was last year or so. We saw some schools. I think a school here in Onitsha where they don't even have the roof. We don't even have the ceiling. When it rains, the entire classroom is filled with water. And then when you have such thing like that, how do you expect the children to be able to learn in such conditions? We've spoken about the fact that some people were asked to feed the children, and then we saw what happened out of it. Nothing meaningful came out of it eventually. So I think that at this point in time, given the fact that at this moment everyone is crying, everyone is actually quite sad, given the realities that we are facing at this moment, I think it is high time they start to cut down on those aids. The same way governors are looking for ways to cut down on the people who are working in local government and secretaries and the rest of them, I think it's the same way they need to cut down on their aids. The senior president should probably be having as much as, let's say, 10 and not more than that. Or as the case may be, we have to sacrifice, make it 5 people if possible. Let's see how we can use the money that are meant to be given to those people to do something that would be beneficial to us. Like we said the last time we were here, we keep on borrowing to pay, to offset bills. We keep on borrowing to just give people money, give palliatives and give the rest of them, whereas we are supposed to be borrowing to invest so that it can actually yield more profit for us in a way that we can actually be able to pay back and still have something left for ourselves. But due to the fact that we are not thinking towards that direction, due to the fact that people who we have chosen to go there and then guide us and go there and then speak for our matter and speak for us are not doing that. They are now there to just enrich themselves, and it's a huge problem, because if we continue like this, I don't understand how we're going to go in the next 10 years, because as it stands right about now, things are getting worse by the day. And like I said before in my introduction, that this government, in as much as they are still quite fresh, still new, I believe that they have a major role to play as to how this country would shape up to be in the next 5 years. We need to see them acting fast. We cannot continue this way. If you see a lot of people complaining right about now, fuel is being sold at 600 and something, 700 and something in some places as well too. And at some point in time, it might also get to rise up to 1,000. And we are not praying for that to happen. But they need to take action immediately. And I think that those aids, they have to cut down. They definitely have to cut down. We've spoken about cutting cost of governance. I think this is part of it that we're talking about right here. They have to cut down on the aids, because it is actually not necessary at this moment spending money that is supposed to be meant for major projects in the country.
Now, Nigeria has things that they need to really look into. Basically, let me talk for myself. At this particular point, I think we need more focus on infrastructural development, which Uche has been able to emphasize a little bit on that particular one. We need a talk on education. This government's inception is about a month and still counting, if no, more than a month right now. Yes, of course. And then at this particular point, I'm really itching to hear things about skill acquisition and, of course, education. Nobody is talking about the educational sector in Nigeria at this point in the new government.
About the education sector was when they provided loans for students to go and collect loan, and then you have to pay back, causing wahala for yourself in the future.
Okay, and of course, talking about that particular one, nobody is really talking about the healthcare sector. The governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has been able to issue a certain report. He actually issued a certain order, rather, saying that every medical doctor in the state working for the public sector should reapply. Of course, that is, according to him, in a way to be able to readdress and know who is serious in this particular issues, to be able to gear towards having a steady healthcare, facility in that particular state. Moving forward, we are not talking about economic diversification, where we can only, talk about other things like agriculture. The Buhari administration talked about agriculture. We really didn't see much about that. But Nigeria seemed to have only oil in view. Now let me break it down to you. The approval by the National Assembly so far. The National Assembly has actually given that particular approval so far about the 500 billion for palliative. They went ahead to issue 70 billion to the National Assembly to support the working conditions of the new members. Now, the National Assembly actually came out to say that the working condition of the new members that they talked about on that plenary was for their furniture and not for cash. For lawmakers, that is something a lot of persons are really looking at somehow, because what are you saying? You said on the bill that it is for working condition of the new members. Is the furniture for the new members as I think the new members should have gotten prepared on how to be able to go about things other than you issuing a certain 70 billion for that particular one. Moving forward, 19.2 billion for Ministry of Agriculture to address massive deconstruction of farmlands due to flooding of 2022, and of course 35 billion to the National Judicial Council. Now let's get to the 35 billion for the National Judicial Council. How do you really see that, judging from what we have since this particular handover to the present administration in Nigeria?
Judicial aspect of the government ought to have what to call financial autonomy, where they get to appropriate for themselves and get their own funds directly. The executive arm of government or the legislative arm of government has nothing to do with, so that they shouldn't have interference when we are having cases involving the other arms of government. But having said that, the money, judiciary. Sometimes, for example, a judge who gives a case, for example, sitting down here to make a pronouncement for you, maybe for example you're a suspect. When he leaves here, he's going back to his home. Do you think about his security? Most of these judges, they don't have like a magistrate, a judge, for example. Most of them don't have personal security. Okay. Some of them are not driving in a comfort car. Sometimes they get to break down. But having said that, that shouldn't be the basis for such humongous amount of money
35 billion
to be spent. For example, I wanted to give a clue how we can channel these resources to betterment of our country. We are staying here in Onitsha. We have the Onitsha Inland Port. We have Onitsha Main Market that is the largest market in West Africa. What stops Onitsha dry port from working? Okay. We have what we call flag badges. They bring in, you don't necessarily have to bring in
big ships.
Yes, into Onitsha. Flag badges can bring in goods into Onitsha. Yeah. But sometimes, because some people share that opinion, maybe because they don't want Igbo people to be emancipated, so that they are not being caged. But sometimes I don't believe in such, because you have brothers and sisters who were ministers, who were senators, and who were sitting senators. How will you tell me that a sitting senator, a sitting House of Reps member will stay there 4 years, 8 years, 12 years? You will not make a call attention on the House or the minister or the president. Why should Onitsha Seaport not be working?
That is
why should
one right there.
Why should the port at why should Oguta Lake shouldn't be working? There are issues of being brought out on social media where people are saying that you can necessarily bring in goods from
Port Harcourt.
Yes, down to here without the person going to Lagos.
But there is a lot of tariff right there in Port Harcourt, unlike what we have in Lagos State.
These things, the state governments and federal government gets to take on this thing. And also, for example, now this money you are calling about 70 billion from Aguleri to Kogi State to Abuja is less than 3 hours. What stops them from building that road? That road shouldn't cost more than, let me say, 10 billion to do that road. And you see the south is opening up. These are things we should ordinarily be doing for ourselves as a country. We should tell ourselves the humble truth.
Know this, for every person sitting in the House of Assembly, I think this particular time is where we get to have a little review about a lot of things. It is not business as usual between 1999 to 2003, 2007, 2019 till right now. It is not business as usual, because as the day keeps coming, things keep changing. For that particular reason, please, for those on this particular assembly, this 10th assembly, please, it is a plea. Let everybody sit up to be able to make things work.